I was doing a couple of things on and off, and I had a couple of my friends tell me, you know what, that was a good idea to, just jump away from the food stuff. And we know the hockey season's coming up, but the gamers, they're all over the place on YouTube. They're all over the place on TikTok and all that. But I'm an old school gamer, and I did the old NES OG box set, and Konami was one of my favorite brands. I think we're doing that right now. Hit the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, you have decided to come back for another episode of Jimmy Jam Sessions. It is yours truly. Imagine that I've been doing this 1 year. It is unbelievable that I made it this far. I'm really not trying to go hardcore, but I do appreciate if you do, in fact, like the stuff that we've been doing wherever it is that subscribe button. Definitely hit that if you want to be alerted for anything and the crazy stuff that we've been doing. Doesn't matter if it's the Genx stuff, the hockey stuff, the NFL, and maybe once in a while we jump on TikTok or do a food review. We do appreciate you. I'm still hanging around here 1 year. Let's keep it going. Meanwhile, I enjoyed doing the last tier list that I did. Because basically we like to jump here and there, and I've heard some people saying stick with one thing. Well, then I thought about, why don't I just do another channel? Well, I'm still a newbie at this thing, so let's just go and just swerve around here, and let's just figure out what we're going to accomplish here. Last time I did an old school video game tier list, I did the original Nintendo OG box set. Now, it's still up there. Go find it. Because this is for the old school gamers. I mean, you want to it's just something to have fun with, but it also brings back a little reminiscence and a little nostalgia. And this time around, I am going to do one of my favorite brands, and I think personally was probably the best in as far as the sound and graphics, and that is Konami. Konami and also the Ultra brand, they were co-owned. They put out some of the best stuff during the age of the Nintendo, and they did even better when SNES with the Super NES came out. So I'm going to do the same tier list, and everybody's tier list is different, and we're going to get right into this. And again, I probably will disqualify myself because there's some of these I have never played. But the first one on the list is going to be The Adventures of Bayou Billy. Now I'm going to put this in A tier. I actually want to put this in S tier, but I'm going to put it in A for the sake is it was hard as hell. You can use the zapper, and you can use the regular controller with the scope, but the story was crazy, and they've never redone it. This game needs to be redone, but it was super hard, and I've seen some speed gamers beat the game in less than a half an hour, and it's insane. But folks out there, redo this game. I don't even care if you do it 16-bit. There's a couple of them. Batman Returns. I never played this one, but I'll put it in B tier because I guess it was okay. I mean, there's going to be some of these. I'm probably going to put it in C if I never played it. In fact, I'm just going to move it down to C. But let's just start adding on to the VIP lounge here in the S tier. Blades of Steel, one of the best hockey games ever. They did try to remake it, I believe, for the 64, but I could be wrong. But they tried to do it with the NHL license. Guys, redo it. I think it's what we all want. We love this game in an arcade. Love it still today. Now, I have no idea about Bucky O'Hare. Now, apparently, I'm going to put it in B tier because apparently it was good overseas. It was a cartoon. It was around the early 90s. And then it became a video game. It actually became an arcade game. with four joysticks around it. I know nothing about this franchise, and I don't really know anything about the story or anything except it's a green rabbit, and it was called Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars. If anybody knows anything about this, message me. Otherwise, I don't know. I didn't play any of this game. I'll just put it in B tier because apparently it was somewhat decent. Now we're gonna get a little crowded here, and just bear with me a minute because all three of the Castlevanias are going to S tier. All three of them. You can. I mean, the original Castlevania, yes. Um, Simon's Quest was a completely different game. It was an adventure game, and then Dracula's Curse was a prequel, and it basically you could play a couple other characters, and it led into the first Castlevania. Now Castlevania has like a boatload of games out of their franchise. You can even get some of the collaborations in like a thing. But all three are in S tier. Let's not argue. Contra will also go to S tier. Original. I will put Super Contra. Oh wait a minute, I have Contra Force B tier. It was a completely different game. Contra Force, well, not bad, but a completely different game. And you know what? Before I even go in any farther, I have to find out if Super Contra was down here. Super Contra was not on this list. It's probably in a different one, but you know what? I don't care. I don't care. But Super Contra would be up there in A or C tier. Um, Here's Base Wars. If you guys remember Base Wars, it was just robots playing baseball. And you could edit the names, you could edit the player names. They could be tanks or whatever. It was a fun game. I'll give it an A tier. That was actually fun. I mean, most of those NES games, they were taking their time. You were taking their time trying to put names on all the games. And then some of the tanks had like cannons, had like swords and everything like that. It was ridiculous. Double Dribble will go to S tier. They tried to redo this on the Genesis, but Double Dribble is a relic, not a relic, but it is a pioneer of the entire NES generation. I want to put the Goonies too in S tier, but I'll put it in A because it was an adventure game and it took some thinking. You you probably could not play the game without the map because there were times where you had to switch from one end of the map to the other. But rumors that there is going to be a new Goonies movie coming out. I'll believe that when I see it. But Goonies, if you want to put it in S tier, I wouldn't have an issue with it. I'll put it in A. The original Gradius excuse me, I'll put that in A tier. That's a relic. That's a classic. Now Gyrus is an A tier. That was a great arcade. I think the arcade's better than the NES, but Gyrus was an originator in the arcade cabinet as well. Now a lot of people don't know about Jackal. I'll put that in B tier. Driving around in a Jeep, and you had 6 stages to go to. There's a lot here. I'm going to try to birth those, but I beat Jackal. This was actually a really, really good game. Now, Jack Nicholas Golf, that's it. I'm going to put that in D tier because I heard it wasn't totally great, but I am going to put Kings of the Beach in A tier. That was a great beach volleyball game. They tried to bring that. They tried to make the arcade version of that other beach volleyball game like Technos. But Kings of the Beach was a fantastic game, and it was named after those famous players. I don't have the names of them off the top of my head. Now, there's one call here called Laser Invasion. I'm going to put it in D tier because I never played it. Some people like it. Okay, Light Force. I enjoyed that one. That was a little bit of a segue on the Gradius storyline, and I'll put that in A tier. It was a fantastic game. Now, some people may not like this move, but I will put the Lone Ranger. It was done by Konami. It was a long game, and it's going in S tier. It was a super long game, and if you lost, you only had one life, and if you lost, you had to start over from the original checkpoint. But it was a hard game. The bosses were hard. You could also use the zapper in the game, but it was a very, very cool story. and it was a Lone Ranger. If you're a Lone Ranger fan, you would have probably enjoyed it. This is a no-brainer. Metal Gear will go in S tier. I think S tier is going to be very, very congested here. That's the original Metal Gear. Mission Impossible is going to go B tier. It was good. It was difficult, but it did have a storyline. It came off. In case people wonder about Mission Impossible, this version was based off the '90s TV show. Was not anything to do with obviously Tom Cruise's stuff, but it is based off the reboot of the TV series. And but it was a good game. Very difficult, but it was a good game. Monster in My Pocket. If some people like it, that's fine, but it'll go in C tier. Let's just knock these out. Here's the original Cuber. It's going in C tier because the arcade's definitely better than the NES, and the controls were so what. Roller games, you have to go back to the '90s. You have to go back to the '90s and remember when roller games came out and came on TV Saturday nights. The late night television. It was sports entertainment, and they did this for a handful of games. But this was a adventure game to the point where you had to, well, there's too much, and I want to get this video done. But the game was good, and it reminisced about the time frames in the '90s. So roller games, it gets a B tier. Russian Attack will go to A tier. Russian Attack, Green Beret, whatever you want to call it. Skate or Die is going to S tier. I don't care what anyone says. That was a tip for anybody who's still an old school gamer. Skate or Die, play that game with the Nintendo Advantage joystick. Oh, you will kill that game. That's not even a joke. Where am I at now? Now, Ski or Die, B tier. It was okay. They tried to come back with a snow one. It was okay. I tried it. Snake's Revenge is going to get a B tier. And it was a good game, but it was not necessarily tied into the Metal Gear story. And I can vouch for that because I played every Metal Gear game. It was good, but it wasn't as crazy as you thought. It was not the storyline. Stinger will go with B tier. This was an originator as far as the shooters, as far as a couple of the others. No, they did find Super Contra. I apologize. Boy, can't remember. I remember those silver boxes, and there it was. I'll go in A tier, but it was definitely as good as the original one, probably if not better. But you could, you know what? I'm making myself agree with myself. It'll go in S tier. All right, now if you'd like it, that's fine. Ninja Turtles will go to A tier. Actually, it will go in S tier. That's hardcore. One of the best retro games ever. If you could play the game right, especially the time where you were running around in the Jeep and going like the third stage, just running around that entire area was enough of a headache. But everything else was fine. And 9 chances out of 10, you were playing Donatello to win those stages anyway. Now, the original arcade will go to. You know what? I'll give it an A tier. When the original arcade was one of the best arcade games, and I'll probably do a tier list on that down the road. But I'll put it in A. You just couldn't play 4 players. You probably could. I think there was an adapter sometime down the road. But the Manhattan Project, that's going to go to B tier because that was an entirely different storyline. Tiny Toons, I'll give you a B tier because it was a fun game. Trouble in whatever this game is. I'll put it in C tier because I didn't remember it. Top Gun's going to go to C tier. Some people may like it. The second mission goes to C tier. Now, some people may have liked Top Gun. I'll give it a B tier. Now, the first Track and Field will go to A tier, and that was also a relic in the arcades where you were pounding that button to make him run faster. And you were going home with bruises on your freaking hands every damn time. But Track and Field 2 is going to go right next to it because I think that was a fantastic game. It was tough. Play that game with the turbo and the advantage, and you'll be breaking records. And this last one, I can't even tell what this one is. It was Zen. D tier. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. So if I look at this really, really smoothly, like I can't say too much about the S tier because any of these can go to S for a ski or die. You know what? You know what? This is going on to here. Snake's Revenge could go up to here. I remember Snigger was good. I could easily put Jackal up there. Some people like the Tiny Toons, but Konami was also one of the best directed graphical and sound music in all during that time of 85 going into probably the early 90s, just before they hit the Super NES era. But there were so many of those eras and so many of those games that Konami made. Do you remember which one that you liked? I mean, there was a ton of them. I almost wanted to I mean, maybe I'll just find myself a Konami t-shirt because that's what I liked when I played most of these games back in the day. I wish some of these were redone. Maybe that's another video for down the road. Yeah, any of these 80s games, can they be redone? A lot of them have been, and a lot of tech people and a lot of video game makers are just trying to do their own emulators and they put them on YouTube and they're fantastic and they should be making money out of that. They can do that on their laptops, on their $80,000 laptop system. Tell me which one of those would you like to see redone and which ones were your favorites and what was the memories that you have of those? Throw a comment in, definitely. This is something I will continue to throw out every once in a while. You made it to the end of this video, which I do appreciate you. Thumbs up, hit a like, and like I said, put a story in of which one was your favorite in. And until then, if there's another brand, hit up in the comments of another brand you would like me to do. And until then, the bar is closed. And just remember, I'll see you guys and see you Bloody Legends in the next one. But unless you do hit that subscribe button before you go out and do whatever you want to do tonight and wherever you decide to go, please do because that way I can see you back here in the next one.